You might be wondering what this is. This giant slab of copper is a Swedish $10 coin, made out of pure copper and minted in the mint in Avesta in Sweden. The first coins of this type in copper were minted when Sweden introduced them in 1624. Though this coin is from 1644 and is the largest example of them. It weighs about 20 kilos or 44 pounds, and coins of this type were normally around approximately 60 by 34 centimeters or 2 by 1 feet, but they could vary a bit in their dimensions depending upon the thickness of the coin, which was about half a centimeter to a centimeter in thickness, which is about a sixth to a third of an inch. Also, in addition to these $10 coins, there existed smaller plate coins of pure copper of lesser value and with smaller dimensions, like the 8, 4, 2 and $1 coins. And these pure copper plate coins were intended as a replacement for silver coins. This was due to a lack of silver for the minting of coins for trade. Sweden during the 17th century actually had a large amount of silver, but most of that silver went to imports of various types, especially war material, and to pay mercenaries. Sweden needed the silver to pay for its war efforts, as Sweden was in the middle of building an empire, and you do not get to subjugate and dominate large areas as an empire if you do not pay your soldiers well and equip them well, which required the silver. In addition, silver was only exported out of Sweden for goods, never into Sweden, due to the trade policy set by the Swedish crown. And the use of these coins to replace silver coins should be seen in this context of Sweden becoming a great power of European politics and having a very large early modern mining industry that produced large amounts of copper that could be used to replace silver coins in value. But because copper was less valuable than silver, large plates were required to replace these previously used smaller silver coins that were used in Sweden. And again, some of these coins weighed as much as 20 kilos or 44 pounds. Silver coins were still used in parallel with these copper coins. And actually, the copper coin system was based upon the silver coin system in a way, with corresponding copper plate coins for every type of silver coin, with representative copper plate coins of 10, 8, 4, 2 and $1.50 silver coins. Throughout the 17th century, they changed the weight of some of these copper coins to correspond better with the silver price and to be more representative of it. But the numbers of the coins still stayed the same, as they were supposed to be exchangeable for those types of silver coins, and thus possible to use as a replacement when silver coins were not available, and thus make trade still possible. It was a means to facilitate trade by using these large standardized slabs of copper, which despite being a non-precious metal was still a pretty important metal used in a lot of instruments and items, and also part of the alloys bronze and brass. Also, cannons were made of bronze, so getting access to good purified copper was important for most of Europe, and thus they traded with these coins. Having the copper processed by the crown's mint also ensured quality and good standards of the copper used in these coins, as well as the amount of copper used, and in connection to equivalents in silver coins, which also meant sometimes that it was cheaper to buy these coins by the equivalent in silver coins than it was to buy copper as just a slab as well. Which suited the Swedish crown very well, as Sweden also had problems selling all the copper that was produced in the mines of the country, which was a lot, as Swedish metal mining was Europe's biggest industry during this era, and mines for iron, copper and silver were everywhere in Sweden, and thus using copper, a rare but still common enough non-precious metal, was thus a solution to this, as it did increase the trade with copper. the lack of silver due to trade policy and export of silver, together with the intention of facilitating trade and especially increased copper trade, were all important reasons as to why many large copper plate coins were minted in Sweden. Though the use of these coins for everyday trading for normal people turned out to be quite problematic at times, and also problematic in certain other occasions as well. For example, in the recording of Västerås court chapter, Västerås being a town in Sweden, for the year 1636, a woman who had committed a misdemeanor was expected to be sentenced to a fine, and it is mentioned that she brought 6 copper coins to the city. But when the pronouncement of the sentence was postponed, she deposited these coins with a person in the city, because she could not carry such heavy coins back and forth. These weigh a lot, and due to their size and weight, these coins were, for obvious reasons, not very easy to use, and this contributed to the first banknotes, or paper money, being issued in the later part of the 17th century. Actually, among the earliest examples of banknotes of paper money used, a corresponding system had previously existed in China, so it was not the first, but it was still one of the earliest systems of paper money, the second earliest. And these banknotes were tied to the copper price, not gold or silver, so one of the first gold standards for paper money was actually a copper standard and not a gold standard. And these banknotes or paper money could be traded in for the equivalent of these copper plates whenever you wanted to. Still, even with the introduction of paper money, the copper coins were mainly used, especially in bigger trades and in international trade, where these slabs and plates of copper would be traded in large bulks for various wares in bulk on larger trading vessels in the Swedish ports, where the coins could be easily moved as cargo on these vessels. In fact, Nicobar, a ship that sank outside the coast of South Africa in 1783, belonging to the Danish East Indian Company, was found in 1987 by 2 divers. It would turn out that the ship had over 8 tons, or about 5,000 of these copper plate coins of Swedish origin of various types. These coins were supposed to have been traded off in far eastern lands, such as India and China, where copper was seen as a very valuable metal. But these copper plate coins weren't only traded in far off lands, but also in lands not that far away from Sweden as well. For example, copper, being a part in the making of bronze, was sent to areas that had other important metal in bronze making. Tin, for example, the British Isles. And thus, this is why you have this Swedish $8 coin in the British Museum. A coin that was probably brought over onto the British Isles to be melted down and to be made into bronze, but was not melted down for some reason. Also, many of these coins ended up in Germany as well. For example, the German trade city of Wismar used these coins as their standard trading currency, being a major trader with Sweden, and was also from 1648 under direct Swedish dominion, but had used these coins already for over a decade before the Swedish Empire took them over. The use of these large copper plate coins in big-scale trading and as a currency in various diplomatic agreements continued until 1776, where they ceased to be minted, but still remained in small-scale trading and in some large-scale trading, such as with the previously mentioned ship Nicobar. And the coins were in use up to the early 19th century, technically, as the warranty of their use has not been officially rescinded or withdrawn. You could still exchange these coins with the Swedish State Bank in theory for the equivalent in silver. I'm not sure it would work in practice or you would get anything from it, but in theory it might be possible. Though considering the rareness of some of these coins, They probably cost a lot more than what you would get in the equivalent of silver for the same coin type, as they probably are more valuable as a collection object than the offered exchange rate in silver, that by the way were offered back in the day before industrialization, when silver was a lot more valuable by virtue of being harder to mine than with modern techniques and use of technology. Though the long use of these coins, even up into the 19th century, actually influenced the Swedish language, an older word for money in Swedish that is sometimes used colloquially and by older people, plåt, plate, and especially its plural, plåtar, plates, is an old name for money, referring to this type of money. A type of money that Sweden was pretty unique in utilizing on a larger scale, with the only exception being Russia, where large copper plate coins were used in 1725 to 1727. That is to say, in 2 years they used plate coins in any form of large-scale coin usage, but on a much smaller scale than Sweden used them. There are some other countries that had large plate coins and minted some, but they never used them in large scale, except for Sweden and Russia. And Russia's scale does not even compare to Sweden's, and only lasted for 2 years. And the scale is important here, as these large plate coins became an important part of the Swedish economy during the 17th and 18th centuries, because of the fact that Sweden had such a massive mining industry and produced such massive amounts of copper. So massive that this sort of currency became a viable option used in trades. And thus you got this coin, the world's largest commonly traded coin in history. I hope you liked this video about this giant Swedish coin and its smaller variants and their history in context. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities.
اشتركوا بالقناة من فضلكم.